Welcome back to Free Media. I'm Robby Soave.
And I'm Amber Duke. President Trump thinks that Biden signing pardons via autopen may be one of the biggest scandals in American history. Here was Trump reacting to a report in the New York Times that Biden may not have known which names were on his own clemency list.
Look, the autopen, I think, is maybe one of the biggest scandals that we've had in 50 to 100 years. This is a tremendous scandal. And I know the people on the other side of the, see that desk, that Resolute desk? Unfortunately, he used it before me. But, you know, we have our choice of 7 desks. They're all beautiful, but I chose the Resolute, and so did he, unfortunately. But the people on the other side of the Resolute desk, I know them. Lisa, the whole group, and they're no good. They're sick people. And I guarantee he knew nothing about what he was signing. I guarantee it.
Senator Rand Paul reacted to the news on X, writing, New York Times reports Fauci was quietly pardoned by an autopen operated by Biden's staff. If the president didn't authorize this pardon personally, then the department has a duty to investigate and prosecute as it would any ordinary citizen. Fauci's been sainted by the extremist left. Doesn't erase his lying before Congress. I'm officially referring Fauci to the DOJ. So I think this is actually 2 separate issues, though, and one I find much more serious and concerning than the other. I don't know that this actual autopen idea is going to go anywhere. It seems like there's more enthusiasm for this among some segments of the right than I think is warranted. I don't know that. I think people are imagining that the validity of the pardons and the clemencies could come into question because of the nature of the signing. You might tell me if you think I'm wrong. I don't see that happening. What I think this speaks to, and what is more clearly indicated by the New York Times report, is a just level of unawareness on Biden's part for what even was going on. I don't know that that's going to make any difference or like undoing it. It's just a sad indictment of the fact that this man was allowed to govern our country for so long.
I don't foresee this going anywhere to the point of undoing pardons and executive orders, but I do think it's politically smart for Republicans to keep this on the table, to do the oversight investigation, because the Democrats should not be allowed to memory hold just how incapacitated Biden really was as president. And they obviously thought that him doing this New York Times interview would put the issue to bed. Oh yes, I was aware of all of the pardons. I knew about all of them. It's no big deal. But when you actually read into his answers and some of the details given within, the New York Times framing of the subject was completely off, because we learned, for example, that the night before the inauguration of Trump, that Biden supposedly ordered his staff to prepare these pardons at 10:03 in the evening.
Famously an hour that he is really lucid for.
Yeah, and also usually not awake.
Yeah.
The idea that Biden stayed up until 10 o'clock at night, the night before the inauguration, when the guy had multiple hour brunch lids and constantly was done working at the White House between 3 and 4 p.m. on most weekdays, just doesn't really pass the smell test. And then not only that, but they failed to have a paper trail of the president's approval of a lot of these pardons and executive orders, where it was all word of mouth, and they were essentially playing a 3-part game of telephone, where Biden supposedly told aides, who then told the people who actually write the pardons, who then sent it to the staff secretary to prepare for the autopen, who then sent it to the DOJ to actually make it happen. So where in that process was Biden giving the final sign-off if this was done by autopen? And that's the issue that most people have, is that there were all of these steps in between where even if Biden had given the original order, there's no indication that he gave the final order to sign off on the documents. It's all word of mouth from staffers, is what I'm saying.
And the documents themselves matter, because on some of these there's a time frame. In the devil's in the details with Hunter Biden, there's a time frame on it. With Fauci in particular, the time frame matters, because again, I'm interested in exploring Fauci's responsibility for the pandemic itself vis-a-vis funding of gain-of-function research. I disagree with his COVID policies. I don't think that's grounds to jail him or anything. He's just wrong about the policies he recommended. But whether the funding greenlit by him was unethical and contributed to the pandemic is a relevant
And if he lied to
question.
Congress about it.
And if he lied to Congress about it. So the time period of that pardon covers going back to when the Obama gain-of-function pause kicks in. It doesn't cover Two other options would have made more sense. Either his entire time in public service, going back to the 80s, or just the time he was the COVID advisor, if they were concerned about going after specific COVID things. But it starts with Obama pause on gain of function that he swore in testimony behind closed doors that there was exceptions to the gain of function pause that he may or may not have signed off on. So that is and that's in the document that was signed in this matter. And also the Biden people have already conceded, like when people started saying, well, why did you give clemency to the cash for the Kids for Cash judge scandal? And Team Biden was like, oh, we didn't realize. Like, so the idea that he knew intimately was overly familiar with the details of exactly every. It's not like a Trump situation where he actually calls them, right? Trump called Ross Ulbricht's mom, say, guess what? I'm fulfilling my promise to the Libertarian Party.
And Biden often didn't give individual pardons. I mean, in this case with the Liz Cheney and the Fauci, he did, but he also granted really wide groups of people pardons, like all lower level marijuana offenses in a certain category, for example, where there could
support, but
right,
yes.
But there could have been individuals in that camp that he certainly wasn't aware of, and I think you could argue that the founding fathers didn't envision the pardon power to be used in that really broad, over-aggressive way. But all of that being said, I mean, getting back to the Fauci thing for a second. What we learned in this New York Times piece as well is that the individual who was responsible for reporting that Biden had asked for the pardon to the aides who then prepared the document for the signing was Jeff Zients, or Zients, however you pronounce his last name. He was effectively the COVID czar during the Biden administration.
Yes.
So that seems a little awfully convenient, doesn't it?
I'm just an advocate for people in government knowing what they're signing and reading the things that are about to become mandates or laws. I say this obviously of our members of Congress who've not even read the bills that they rushed to, the mega bill at the last minute. The big beautiful bill, so beautiful, was maybe actually they had time to read it because some of its character didn't change them. Although we were all finding out things that were in it that we should have had public policy debates on, like the AI moratorium, the selling of public land. I have my own views of it, but these are certainly issues that should have been debated, and people had no idea those things were in this bill until they got a little bit of media attention. I think members of Congress should read the things they're signing, and so should the president.
People made fun of Trump a lot for his first day in office when he was signing all of the executive orders, either in the...
Oh yeah, that was great, because it was showing that he knows what he was signing.
Because he had a person next to him who would present the executive order and say, here's what's in this one.
Yes.
And then he would sign it. And they were like, he doesn't even know what's in the executive orders that are coming his way. And it's like, no, they're demonstrating that he is fully committed and aware of.
You really don't know what's in it? Go over to Congress. Yeah. They have no idea what they are signing into law. None. You have to pass the bill in order to read it, right? That was
a classic.
That was the classic
I think
line.
that was a moment in politics that I think I was in middle school when that happened, and it genuinely radicalized me.
Good. Glad
My first political rally was an anti-Obamacare rally in 10th grade.
Good for you. Oh, those take me back. The good old days. Thanks for watching Free Media. We'll have more for you soon.